On today's episode, we're actually talking about what it looks like to be on the path, acknowledging the path, being on the path, and how it's not actually possible to get off of the path. You're always on the path. Welcome to Heartful Beings, where we bring loving, grounded, and practical perspectives to living a heart-centered life with Janet Uribe and Milena Rodriguez.
This is the place where we have heart-centered conversations and share our own experiences about all things spiritual while keeping our feet on the ground. Take what resonates and nourish your soul.
Hey lovers, how are we doing today? I've missed you. You don't know this, but I know, and Milena knows, we actually haven't recorded it in a long time. There were a few life changes that happened up in there that was just kind of, it's kind of wild how your soul and body will be like, let's just uproot you completely and place you down over here. And since we've last talked, there's been so many decisions that Milena and I have been having to make related to our journey. And so something that we really realized was coming up with clients or other individuals is like people constantly say, well, what is my path? Or am I on the right path? Or, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Did I marry the right person? And the thing is, guys, the more questions we have, the less we're acknowledging the fact that we're on the path. You're on it now. It doesn't go away. So since we've last recorded, I have been having such amazing, beautiful healings. I think somewhere in there, y'all probably saw me cry my eyes out around episode 4 or something. I went on to cry for like 2 more months. And then what came after that was I was recognizing how many places in my life I wasn't honoring myself. And so I had been wanting to get a dog, but I had like a huge list of things that I wanted. I was like, well, I don't want just one. I want 2. I want friends. I want companionship, and I want them to be little, and I want them to be perfect. And I want them to be able to handle all of my clients that walk in the door with love. And I want them to be quiet enough and gentle. And I want a codependent nature with one of them. And literally the universe set up the creepiest scenario for me to just have all of those things line up. And these 2 precious little babies came into my life, and you'll see them in my video sometimes because I don't have great boundaries with them yet. And who knows if I ever will.
It's also just being real.
Yeah. And then my girl, Milena, yo guys, y'all remember my girl, Milena Rodriguez, the one and only beautiful sister-in-law, bestie, soul sister. She just moved to freaking Austin, which is where I live. Not only that, she also now lives just a few streets over from me.
Oh my God. Yeah.
So come on, girl, share what's been going on because this relates.
I know. So talking about the path, I got caught up in this of many times in my life. Why am I here? What is the purpose? What is the big thing I'm supposed to be here? And I think I always made it be this big epic task, right? And then I was always concerned or worried that I wasn't on the path, that I was doing something wrong, that it didn't line up to what I assumed or thought it should look like, right? And then more recently, it's really hit me that it doesn't matter. It's like everything you do is the path. Every single choice that you make every single day is part of the path. So there really is no right or wrong. So that was the first thing that for me was like freedom. And I learned this a lot in my healing journey, my therapy and stuff is you can sit and dwell in oh my God, I made a wrong choice. I married the wrong man, or I had the wrong job for so long, or why didn't I leave earlier? Truth is that's just where I was at the time, or that's where my client was at the time, or that is just the decision you made at the time. Right. And so something that we've talked about recently is the freedom of choice. You can just choose to get out or choose the new job. But where we will get caught up is the perfectionism, big time for me, making sure I'm making the right decision, making sure that I am also at the time, old self would make sure I was abiding by cultural norms or something, or making sure I was doing what was even thought of me to do. And then the big freedom has been, I can do whatever I want. Right. So we basically have gotten so much of what we were trying to manifest over the last couple of years, and it hit all at once. Okay. I even told the universe, I'm ready to move. I want to go try an adventure. I want to have one more child before I hit a certain age. And I really want to go move to Austin. And when I tell you guys, It all hit at once. And I was like, this is crazy. Okay. We sold our house. We packed up and moved. I am currently like 8.5 months pregnant. It just got here. Like, who moves in their third trimester? We did. It's fine. It all worked out. But I guess what me and Janet were talking about before this is the path is the path. So sure, we made some maybe decisions that I learned a lot from, especially hiring moving companies. I learned a whole lot about that, guys. Um, what to do next time, what not to do next time. But old me may have like beat myself up a little bit about that, right? Been like, oh, you didn't do enough research, or God, maybe you paid too much for this service, or, you know, all the what ifs, what ifs, what ifs. And honestly, it just is what it is, right, Janet? Like,
Yeah.
we made a decision. We went with the company we went with. It didn't really work out the way we thought, but we learned, and I can just move on and just be like, next thing. So the big things that happen along the way and the little things along the way are all worth acknowledging. Because when Janet said, I'm just a couple of streets away from her, y'all, we were like a week away from moving and we still didn't have a house. I was like, we are, the buyers are signing the papers. We have to be out of the house. I don't know where we're going. And every other apartment in this other neighborhood kept falling through. And then all of a sudden this house opens up and I'm like, holy shit, guys, it's like literally 5-minute drive from Janet and I have a baby on the way. Why not be closer to family? Right. And everything just started to align the second I got out of the way. And I really just let the universe kind of like carry me a little bit. And just I would tell them like, where do you need me to be? Where do I need to go? What do I need to do? Or do I need to just back off? So that's a whole lot of information I just threw out there. We can unpack that. But long story short, it's really acknowledging all of the choices and all of the things that we are doing every single moment towards whatever that goal may be is all path, period. All path. Even when we choose to sleep in that day, it's part of the path. Your body needs to recharge, you know, or when you're in a go, I got to get this done. That's part of the path.
Yeah.
So Janet, let's unpack some of that, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, guys, the path changes in the tiniest things. And a mentor of mine, Tammy, who you often will hear me mention, has frequently told me it changes in the tiniest things that you choose to do. So one of the things that I've been frequently telling my clients a lot lately is the healing doesn't just come necessarily from one act or one way or one decision or one shadow work or one healing or one quantum leap or healing. It doesn't just come that way. You know, sometimes it is the forgiveness of another, the forgiveness of self, but then it's also choosing to show up for yourself and choosing to love yourself and choosing to see yourself like perhaps others could not. And when you start doing those things, and when you think about it, it's typically in small, tiny acts. It's in brushing your teeth. It's in deciding to clear off some clutter or paperwork. It's in deciding to get help. That's probably one of the biggest things that happened for me this week is I've noticed that for a little time frame here, I've been just struggling with like perimenopausal symptoms. And, you know, one of my friends who's also a healer said, oh, so you're like looking to slow down. And I was like, whoa, that does not resonate at all. Yes, I can see where my body's looking to slow down, but I like going fast. I don't care who you are. Everyone's like, oh, there's a certain pace of going. That's great for you, but I like going at a much faster rate in many things. And so it was beautiful because I actually asked Milena to support me and some in my company. And I hired another person to come in to do some work for my home. I actually started participating in an energetic exchange with my favorite yoga therapist. And as I literally put all of these pieces into play and started to put in support systems, in comes the menstruation like a river, like rushing, you know, whatever. I won't get into too many draft graphics because I can do that. But anyway, long story short, you know, I changed my path immediately. Most women in my family do, in my mom's side, they were telling me, yeah, we stopped menstruating around this time frame. And I thought, you know, that doesn't really quite resonate with me. I'm learning to have a better relationship with menstruation right now. I didn't have one when I was younger. I constantly was in resistance of it and wasn't, you know, healthy with it. So now I'm in this new place of discovering and using more things, the little things, in a big way. And so the more I've been doing these little things, the more I'm acknowledging them the more I discover in the coolest ways about my abilities and the path. So yeah, every single step, every single action or inaction, every blow up or no blow up. You guys hear me talk about lighting fires under my own ass and other people. It's all part of it. It's all part of it. And it's okay. Yeah. The whole point is to learn.
Yeah, I want to get into like the fires, because with the moving company and the drama that we had, like trying to just like get here, that was like the one biggest hiccup, right? I was still able, after I cooled down, because I was super heated for a little bit. I think Janet was there helping us move, and I had to like leave the house for a second to be like, whoa, what is going on here? And then after I started doing some reflecting or talking to my guides and like being like, what is this about? What is going on? What is this trying to show me? Once we got here and we unpacked and we started like, you know, really getting settled, I was able to actually give that situation some gratitude. So you'll hear Janet and I talk a lot about just giving gratitude for all the goodness that you have in your life. But I challenge all of you guys to figure out where you can even squeeze in some gratitude for the shit that's happened in our lives. Because even in those moments has most likely, if you think about it and you do a little inventory real quick as you're listening, guys, like what is the one thing that maybe is still hovering over your head that you can't like maybe let go? Doing some work around that and then giving the situation maybe some gratitude will propel you to the change of why that situation hasn't let you go yet, why it still may have a hold on you. So the path is literally all of it. And I think in our society, we have a tendency to, we got to always be happy, right? And I think we've talked about this before, or like if things aren't good, then something is wrong. And I hate that, because even when things aren't working out, that is also things that is showing you in your life that need change, or there's something that you're in the middle of a big change. I'll say that, right? Because when I know when sometimes when I'm going into like big life changes, you know, shit hits the fan and it gets really chaotic. But once you get out of it, having that reflection time of like, where can I show some gratitude of that burning that happened, you know?
Absolutely.
One more thing too, with like in tarot, I was on Facebook or Instagram or something, and somebody was like, oh, I just did my own card reading for the first time for myself in months, and look at this. And I thought it was a beautiful reading. Okay. And then one of the comments below, somebody said, oh, at least it's not the Tower card. And I was like, I almost welcome the Tower card. And the Tower card symbolizes when, yeah, you don't have a sturdy foundation, things are shaky, things are maybe on fire, because then I know, okay, I'm in the middle of a big change. This is kind of giving me like that heads up, like what is unstable, what foundation, where do you need to like do some foundational work? Okay. So it's all the path.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, so much.
I know that just came to me about that Tower card. Like
Yeah.
People get so scared of it.
Absolutely. Believe me, like I was sitting there bearing witness to what Milena and my brother were going through at the time with their move. And like I was sitting there watching literal timelines that could possibly happen of they could literally have chosen to have gotten in the it's your fault. And I think that there may have been an instinct to go there for like a hyper second. And then
totally was.
Immediately, they immediately transitioned into collaboration and team game time. We are on this team together to fix this. Mm-hmm. So that one act, guys, what I was witnessing energetically and reading for them, that one act changed timelines and paradigms for their kids.
Wow.
It's really quite beautiful, because traditionally, ancestrally, our families would have been at each other.
Oh, there would have been so much blaming and finger pointing. And like, I mean, let's face it, I'm the one that hired the moving company. Okay. Cause I was in a go mood that day. And I was just like, I got to get this stuff done. Like we are going. So then, yeah, I was feeling some of the fault of what was happening. But yeah, it was either like we could have sat there and just pointed the finger, like, well, you didn't do it fast enough. Well, you didn't do enough research. Well, you know what I mean? And that would have gotten us nowhere.
No.
And at that moment in time, I was like, they have half of our stuff packed. Are we going to have them unpack everything and start over and try to figure out how to move out of our home in 48 hours? Or am I just going to deal with the situation that is upon us, figure out a creative solution? And this took y'all an hour of me having to like literally sit in my backyard and like ground and breathe and want to like punch something.
Heck yeah.
I went through a lot of emotions in that hour to get to that place. I'm not this like Zen person, okay, is what I'm trying to get at. There was a lot of emotion, but doing the work and understanding more so now of the just we have choice in everything that we do helped me kind of refocus to like the task at hand was to move out of the house.
Absolutely. And here's what I want to like bring up to you guys, especially anyone who's in, and I'm going to relate this to two things, in a partnership with another human being.
So much harder.
Or human beings, or in a partnership where you're learning to basically reinforce and strengthen your own partnership that you have with yourself. So what I was witnessing for Malene and my brother was so profound, because I want you to think of any moment that you have an interaction with another human being, colleague, partnership, boss, friend, marriage, sibling, stranger. And you can literally just get into those, oh, watch this. This is where you're at fault. Or you can collaborate, because it is a co-creation. Mm-hmm. And I know earlier you were talking about, let's unpack this. Well, yeah, this is like one perfect example to go deeper in. When we make those decisions to use the adversity or use the obstacle or use the lesson or use the curriculum to actually go much deeper and say, okay, let me regather my bearings and see more what this is about. Let me see how I can actually center more and recognize that this is a decision or an act that happened, and we can actually get to a solution or a resolution. Mm-hmm. Because typically, guys, and I know we're all guilty of it at one place or another, we'll get behind that finger and just point it in every which direction. But what was beautiful is I want you to think of another piece that Malena said, where she was like, we literally had half of our shit on a truck. Like, think about how much time you have invested in places and scenarios. And sometimes, a lot of times, we'll just fire that person or fire that scenario or leave that relationship, and we didn't do the one piece of work that would have actually completely rewritten timelines or rewritten ancestral trauma or create a whole new pipeline for ourselves and our children.
Hold up, girl. I didn't even think about the symbolism of when shit hit the fan and they had half of our shit already on a truck.
Yeah. This is what I was reading while I was there. And I was like, this shit's awesome.
So hold on. That's hitting me now for a second here. I'm going to try to, integrate this quickly. But yeah, it was such a profound moment because I was about to lose it. I had to leave. Everyone was like, oh my God, Malena just stormed out of the house. What's going on? Even I think the movers were like, what's going on? Why are they so angry? Because I was like, what is, and basically, guys, long story short, it was just like with every hour that passed in this move, they were charging us more money than we originally had agreed with. And it was just like this really kind of sketchy scenario. But we were on a crunch time. So it was like, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? But yeah, I think once we calmed down and decided in that moment we were going to figure out the best solution, and we did, and that was it. We just had to release it and surrender it. I was not in a place at that moment to show any kind of gratitude. Okay, but it came later too, is what I'm saying to you guys, because the gratitude really helped release me from that, where I'm not still feeling I got burned or I got bullied, or it showed me issues I may have with boundaries, or it showed me things about, hey, maybe sometimes you do need to slow down and do a little bit more research and put more trust and faith into the universe that the things will be given to you and not push so much. So those are some of the things that I came out of the situation understanding. And if y'all have been there, I'm sure you have your own, I'll never do that again, and those lessons. So when you have those moments, just showing some gratitude really, I think, helps propel you right to the integration of the final piece of that situation. Absolutely. for the negative stuff, right? Or like the negative, or things that we call like not so easy.
Absolutely. Like even right now, I'm in a little bit of a discomfort corner, like career wise, right? I can even like relate what I'm going through in my career to what you guys were going through at that moment.
Mhm.
And because everything you witness, guys, everything you witness has information for you in it.
For
And
you.
yeah,
Mhm.
and I was recognizing like my tendency is to like look at it in my career and be like, you take from me. You take my time, you take this, you take my energy. I'm not, and like kind of getting into that victim mode with it, as opposed to getting into
Mhm.
gratitude and like, oh wait, you're showing me something is out of alignment with me. You're
Mhm.
showing me that this doesn't resonate with me, right? So like, let me tell you what, something that came up for me personally witnessing you guys was like that feeling of, you know what, this entire dynamic with this moving company is showing me just how much I like integrity. I'm I'm making a
Yeah.
decision to show up with even more integrity in this life than I have before consciously, and measuring things that way. Does this feel integral to me? Yes or no? Is this what I would like to have? How would I like this exchange or this energetic exchange to go down with someone? So if
Mhm.
anything, I'm just using it to collect that information. I think that you know, in our culture here in Western culture, there's this tendency to call things like karma, like an eye for an eye, you know, I'm gonna get you. But you know, if we look at the origins of karma, it is actually the experience, the education, the expansion, the information that comes in for the soul.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating how we can take any experience, and I mean any, and really
Any
dissect it.
experience, y'all.
Yep.
Mhm.
Unpack it and really see the depths that are there for us to learn. And then as we learn it, we literally change our world. And it can
Yeah.
feel like such a little glimpse of time, just a
Yeah.
fragment, but it's huge in that one act.
And a great way to start, guys, is like those situations that you just can't let go for some reason. It keeps the reoccurring thoughts, or you keep going back to it, or you keep thinking about it. All right, start with those, you know, and then when you get into the habit of like kind of unpacking, why can't I let this go? What is it showing me? What about it is in my gut that I know isn't right or is super right about the situation? Because sometimes the good things just stay with you, like, you know, and you just keep thinking about it. So starting with those, and then before you know, like Janet's saying, almost every single interaction, you'll see patterns. And this is what I do in my work with clients a lot, is like Janet too, is like we help see the patterns and start putting the pieces together to start getting the information of what your soul is here to clear. And you talked about karma, and like we're here, a lot of us right now, clearing some karma for the ancestral line has been really big with my clients. Our generation is really making steps to like rewrite how things are done. You were seeing institutions and situations having to like burn to the ground a little bit in order to rebuild whatever this new earth, as people have been talking about, is happening. But it's not this big ultimate change. It's constantly happening. So we're all on the path. Things are evolving, even though it looks messy and chaotic at times, right? But it's all of use. So I think also like bringing it back to like the spiritual community of like, yeah, we all think of these big new earth 5D. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's totally okay. But we all think about these big changes are going to happen, and it's going to be wonderful and beautiful, but the path there is all of us are on it. So even if you have somebody who's air quotes here non-spiritual, they're just as much on their path.
Yeah.
They just maybe aren't where you're at,
And they're not supposed
and
to be.
they're not supposed to
There's no
be, you
supposed
know.
to. Yeah. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
And guys, you know, and however any of you are hearing these words and taking what you take from it and your own perspective, you know, perspective's fantastic. Like homegirl Melena was just talking about messy and chaotic. And I was sitting here earlier talking about my menstruation, right? And I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
that shit's totally messy and chaotic. Like y'all just don't even know. I mean, most of you women might, but but yeah, so the idea just being when you're sitting with someone before you, if you can just, if they're really aggravating you, or if it's dynamics frustrating you, or if you're just at your wits end, or if you're backed up into the corner of that room, which I frequently talk about, remember that you're in the corner of the room for a reason. The corner of the room has a greater, more expanded perspective to be witnessed in the room.
Be the observer at that time.
Yeah. And it's there for you to gather information. I had such a kick out of watching Milena and Ron's well, now you know my brother's name. We usually try to keep, maybe we'll bleep it out. Who knows? We'll ask him. I usually get such a kick out of watching where they are with things, because like they're like some of my closest family, and like they're also in this path. And it really does bring me such great joy to see the parallels that are also happening in my life at that moment that are similar to that, to theirs. And so sometimes it's easier to witness your family or your friends or your neighbors that way, because you can almost learn through them, because when it's your own stuff, when you're in it, you're in it. And removing yourself can be that much more difficult. So yeah, thank you guys for going through that, because it gave me.
I love how you say when you're in it, because I was seeing red and you're looking at this beautiful experience. And I'm like, how do I not lose my shit right now? And how do I make sure they don't just start unpacking my stuff and leave us? And like, there's all these scenarios. So, yeah, I love that you thought it was a beautiful experience.
Yeah. Well, you know, I may not have 5 or 10 years ago. I would have been like, listen, lady. And then it was beautiful, because like one of the ladies' names who was helping move, if she ever hears this, it'll be fun. Her name was my name. And I was like, it's a beautiful dichotomy. You know, one Janet is here to be like support you guys in this move, and the other one's here also supporting you, but also possibly taking you over at the same time.
I know. It was like, it's so hard to read that situation of what was happening. And then you had the 2 movers who were just there to do a job and were so confused of like what was even happening.
Yeah.
The innocence that they had.
And their role was fantastic, in my opinion, too, because I think that sometimes, like when I get into these dynamics, like with my partner, you'll hear me talk about it with my partner frequently, because that's where you do a lot of work, is with the partner. Yes. I'm like sitting there losing my shit, whatever is happening, right? Like in a corner, like fetal position, what's going on? And he's like, I have no idea what is happening right now. I don't understand how we were like so good yesterday, and then today there's something very off.
We are complicated people.
Yeah, you know, and I've learned to embrace how complicated I can be at times.
Yes.
You know, and before I would just sit there and beat myself up for being like this. And now I'm just like, all right, well, it's, you know, there's a reason, and I'm figuring it out.
Well, that is such an awesome way to close this conversation out today, because embracing the dichotomy of who we are, there's nothing to be fixed, right? There's just more to be understood, period. Okay. So if you're in a place right now and you just can't get out, and you're just like, I don't understand, that's when you need help, you know, from somebody. It doesn't have to be the therapist, the spiritual worker. It could be just reaching out to a friend or community or somebody that may be able to like help guide you or help you see some more clarity. Cause like Janet was saying, you know, we were in the thick of it and she was observing it as the observer. And so even after everything kind of calmed down, we got settled back and we got back on track. A lot of conversation I had with you, Janet, is what helped me unpack the situation at a quicker rate too. So not being afraid to talk about it further. Like I had tears in my eyes at one point, and I was just like, I don't understand why this is happening, you know? So finding the help to like unpack it is also super, super helpful. We don't have to do it on our own. But we are like acknowledging the path means acknowledging all the bits of ourselves, the bad decisions we may make, bad again, or the great decisions we make. It's all part of it. It's who you are. It's who we are, period.
Absolutely. Well, guys, we're going to close it up there. It's so fun to be back behind the mic. Thanks, Melina, for meeting with me.
Thank you for being so supportive in all of this. It's been wild, y'all.
I've loved it. Watch, you'll get to support me next week. All right, guys. Have a great day. It was so good getting to be with you today.
Bye, everybody. If you liked what you heard today and want to see more about our offerings and gifts, please join our email list at heartfulbeings.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Heartful Beings.
Please note that our perspectives and views of the following content are ours and are not necessarily substitute to our holistic views and approaches to healing. Both of us believe in the numerous support tools available to all, which include and are not limited to therapy, mental health treatment, medical, prescription, and other types of traditional or alternative healthcare.